Actually thought, Allison, about singing that song. I didn't actually have anything to do with that song. The sermon was looking for love. And then I just happened to think of it, so I went ahead and put that little tiny thing up there afterwards in all the wrong places. And I figured somebody besides me would be humming it this week. But that's our message today, looking for love. Isn't love crazy? Everybody that has ever at least once been in love, say amen. I didn't want you to hold a hand up. I didn't want you to be, because you'd be sitting by somebody that didn't hold their hand up, and it'd be your husband, of course. What? So at least we kind of hide in the anonymity of amen. Isn't it crazy, love? I don't know. Forget the dictionary. You're not going to find the definition in a dictionary, but we do spend a lot of time trying to define love in our own life and in our own relationships. I don't even know what this means. Did I get it right? This is the first time I've ever actually tried to do this. Does it look like a heart? Woo, 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 whatever that means, I don't know. But it's supposed to mean I love you, I think. And then don't they do some kind of Hawaiian thing? It means something weird like I love you or something. With your fingers sign. Is that a gang sign or something? I don't know what that is. Does that mean anything? Does anybody know? I really don't know. No, that's hook 'em horns. No, that's hook 'em horns. That's longhorn. That's not love. What? That is I love you. That's not hook 'em horns. My apologies. You were wearing orange. That's all I thought was hook 'em horns. You got an orange shirt on. You're doing there. Is that really what that means? Yeah. Well, that'll save me a lot of time then in the future. I won't have to tell my wife anymore. I just flash her sign language down the hall. Hey, I'm gone. That's kind of what we do, isn't it? We try to define love. And if we were to just take time, and make y'all talk around the room, you would get such a different response if you were just called on to tell us what you think love is. I'd get a totally different response from like this row and this row. I don't mean the whole row, I mean the old people. A couple of you old people would define it differently than. If you ask me, I would just say what I'm already saying in this sermon. I don't have a clue. I've spent a lifetime trying to figure it out. I know what I thought it was at one time. That turned out not to be. And then I thought it was something else, and then that turned out not to be. And I'm still working on it. I'll tell y'all I love you. I might sue you tomorrow. I don't know. Depending on what you do to me tomorrow. But today, one of my phrases to my grandkids growing up was, anybody told you today they love you? And if they ever said no, I just responded, I love you today. They never got it. And my love is just today. Tomorrow I might not like you. But today, I love you. My wife collected these cartoons. Anybody seen these? Y'all ever seen these? A lady named Kim Casalis, I think. A lady named Kim Casalis, I think is her married name, started actually doodling these back in the 60s. We got married in 73. And in the 1960s, this woman, Kim from New Zealand, was engaged, and she actually started sending her fiance, to be her husband, little love notes. And then she realized she could draw the little cartoons, and then clever woman that she was, she figured out how to make money off of these things and got them syndicated. And they appeared every week in newspapers all across America in the 70s. And they might still be appearing somewhere, I don't know. I guess she's still alive, maybe still drawing them. I have no clue. All I know is that if you ask my wife about these, she has an entire book of them all cut out. She cut every one out, still has the photo album. She put them in a photo album. She cut every one of them out in the days that we were engaged in the first year or two after we were married and still believed in love. That's my version. I'm sticking with it. Maybe she quit because they quit publishing them. I don't know. But she cut them out forever and put them in a photo album. I don't know why. I asked her the other day, why did you collect all those love is? And she said, you started, she said, you started sending them to me when we were engaged. I don't remember that. That doesn't sound like me. So clearly some other guy was sending her something. She got her mail mixed up, thought it was me, and started collecting them because of that. I didn't like them, so I can't imagine using them. Look at this. Love is not having to be reminded to take out the garbage. Hey, you better remind me. I will walk over that bag every stinking morning if you just throw it at the back door until you say, I put that there hoping you'd put it in the trash. And then I will say, it's only 20 more feet to the trash can. If you could get it to the door, couldn't you just carry it to the trash can and put it in the trash can? For pity's sake, it's 20 more feet. I have said that before. And she still has one sitting today at the top of the stairs, waiting on me. Been there 3 days. Waiting on me to pick it up without having to be reminded. Clearly, she's not married to a romantic or anybody who can define love. Love is not picking the most expensive dish on the menu. Well, thank you. When has that ever stopped my wife or yours? You don't go to the restaurant and say, oh, I love him so much, I'm just going to get, I just like a slice of cheese, please. That's all for me. That's never going to happen. Y'all ever, when you were dating, you old guys, when you were dating, young guys just use their parents' credit card. Any of you old guys who didn't, you were never allowed around your parents' credit card when you were young. My generation didn't get that privilege. You did not get access to daddy's money, period. You had it in your wallet or you didn't have it. Any of y'all ever taken your girlfriend out to dinner and you really didn't have enough money for both of you to eat nicely, and then she orders, and then you have to act like you just want French fries? Anybody? Am I the only one that absolutely ever, thank you, 2 of y'all went broke? I have absolutely taken my wife, my fiance when we were engaged, I have absolutely taken her to eat, and I wanted to take her to a nice place, you know, but I didn't have money. And a nice place in those days might cost you $30. Now that's like appetizer. But in those days, a nice place, you know, two $15 meals is pretty nice back in the 70s. And I have absolutely taken her out to eat here in Houston, Texas, and then modified my order after she ordered. I'm not real hungry. I just want to take you out somewhere, baby. But I had a big lunch today. What'd you have for lunch? Big. I had big lunch. I might not have eaten lunch, but I knew, I'm sitting there counting, I got $29.75 in my pocket. And you know, we didn't use credit cards in the 70s. Every time you go out, you use cash. And you better have it in your pocket. So I don't know why she collected these things. I don't know why she has them still to this day in a photo album somewhere. But I guess in the long run, even she was trying to find the definition of love. And she tried to find it in these kind of things. Love is what makes you feel like kids again. I don't know anything can make me feel like a kid again. Put me on a merry-go-round and see if that makes me feel like a kid. I'll be throwing up on your shoes just in a few minutes. Won't take me long to get absolutely sick. Doing kid things is not going to make me know what love is. I'm just horsing around. I don't know. Probably today, if you ask you typical ladies today, you'd probably say, oh, I know where love is. I know how to define it. I just watched it last night on the Hallmark channel. Because, you know, everybody knows that. You talk about love being defined. Just watch a Hallmark movie and you'll see true love defined. She will leave the rich lawyer whose daddy owns the world, and she will leave him for that goat roping cowboy who gave up money to just feed cows and chickens and wear boots, and he's bow-legged and he talks like a Southerner. But smart woman she is, she gonna leave that dude with all the money in the world and rich family because love doesn't need all that. Love is gonna bring her back to chicken farmer. And you know, when you love someone, the smell of chicken farmer just goes away. You don't even notice it. I bet some of your wives even enjoyed washing your underwear when y'all were first married because she just liked the smell of a man when she was young. That's when she was in love. Love masks bad odors in somebody. You ever dated somebody who had bad BO? If you loved them, you wouldn't have noticed it. I dated one girl in high school, and she had bad breath. And the only reason I knew is I thought I was going to lean in for a kiss. And I leaned in, and so did she. And then I leaned back. I've had a cold. I just happened to think we shouldn't kiss because I've had a cold. I couldn't imagine what in the world she had. But I will tell you that I've kissed my wife a time or two, and she had bad breath, and I just didn't tell her because I loved her. Love, try to define it. You can't make sense out of love. You literally, y'all got kids that have loved somebody you'd have never made them love. I got lucky on that score. My daughter's married guys that it's easy for me to love. Actually I'm sorry, she's not here today. I can talk about her, and don't repeat this, Matt. Actually brought some little dude home one time from college. He wasn't little, he's big, but she brought this dude home, and she'd let us know, kind of set us up ahead of time. He's really nice. His daddy's a doctor. He's going to be a doctor. Only thing, just so y'all know ahead of time, he's Jewish. And I said, the only thing? What is wrong with you? I'm not prejudiced. I got common sense. What y'all going to talk about? What are you going to talk about God about? What? Well, we love each other, maybe. I don't know, Dad. I don't know. Well, I do. Put a hold on it. Think about it. What are you going to do when you have a kid? Well, what? Sit down and talk about it. Where's the kid going to find God? I take this seriously. You can't tell it sometimes, but I take this seriously. Where's the kid going to find God? Well, no, there's no well. You don't, love doesn't say, I don't have to think anymore, I just feel. No, that ain't love, that's ignorance. Think. So it was all I could do to be a nice person when he came to the house. I was like, hi, sit down over there. Eat, don't talk. You don't like food? Go eat somewhere else. I was hoping my wife would fix sauerkraut and weenies just because I thought nobody in the world likes that except me and her. We couldn't even convince our kids how good sauerkraut and weenies was. We still eat that once a week. That is delicious. Sauerkraut and weenies. You got to love each other to enjoy eating sauerkraut together and weenies. Men and women have tried to capture the meaning and the essence and the feeling of love in writings and books for years. And classics are still around, but really and truly, you ever read Gone with the Wind? Is that really a book about, yeah, right. Yeah, hey, we mentioned Gone with the Wind. Hey, yeah, like an hour ago. Move on now to the next one. Maybe we can sneak up on love, we think, now and then. Y'all ever do this? He loves me not. He loves me not. Oh no, he doesn't love me. Y'all ever done that? My wife actually did that in front of me when we were dating. We were dating, and she snapped off a little daisy, and I said, yeah, I don't do flowers. Like, I thought she's handed it to me. I said, yeah, I don't do flowers. And she said, this will be the test. What? I thought she was going to smell it. I did not know. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. Well, that wasn't a good one. We threw that one away. Seriously? And surely every girl's got one of those little spinners. Is he the one? Nope. But I love him. Well, you spin it again. Oh, yes. That's about, I'm not trying to just be stupid about love, but honestly, does anybody really understand this thing that absolutely drives us insane, motivates us, makes you change your whole world, makes you say goodbye to yesterday and embrace tomorrow in the arms of somebody you barely know? You think you do, but you barely know them. Love is so confusing. It is perplexing. It is mysterious. And I don't care which dictionary you look in, they're just trying to supply a definition because they have to. Love is undefined. I love my dog, but it's stupid. I don't want another one like it. And when it finally moves on, I won't buy one of that breed ever again. Oh, but I love that little animal. I told you a while ago when I came up here, tell somebody you love them, and some of you probably did. Love you, love you, love you, love you. And the truth is, I like it, that's sweet, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything associated with love. Not real love. Not the kind of love that'll make you sacrifice, die, and give up. And yet we do that, all in the name of love. Can't understand it, can't explain it, can't reason it out, but we do it. Love motivates us so badly that we absolutely will change our whole life for something we can't put our finger on, but we love it. Solomon and Shakespeare made a career out of writing about not just love, unrequited love. Have you ever read Song of Solomon? Do you know what the book, the Song of Solomon, is actually about in the Bible? Solomon, the king, the wise king, I say wise in brackets because he had 700 wives when he died, and 300 women. We didn't quite know what to call them. Let's call them concubines. I don't know what that word means. I mean, I know the definition of it, but still, what does that mean to him? 700 women he's officially married to and 300 concubines. What? And he's the wisest man ever? What have I got? What happened? Huh? Oh, thank you. Is it that bad? Is it really that bad? I mean, I can hear it kind of cracking up here now and then. I can't suck on this and talk, but I'm going to try. Solomon, I don't know what he was thinking. I wouldn't have written the book. Solomon wrote the Song of Solomon about a woman he could not convince to love him. You can't get the dialogue right if you just read it through your King James Bible or any Bible, but I'll tell you the best Bible out there that breaks down the dialogue, a Dake's annotated Bible. You don't have to go buy one. You can probably pull it up online. And Dake's broke down the dialogue, but when is it her speaking? When is it him speaking? Because it just kind of flows through the story. And it's a Shulamite slave girl. His army conquered the Shulamites, and they brought back some of the finest, including a beautiful woman. And she was so pretty they knew. You know, ugly people don't have a chance in the world, but pretty people, apparently pretty people get to marry kings and stuff because they brought her to the king, and the king put her in my harem. You have 700 wives. And then he loved this woman, and he wanted her so badly. That's what Song of Solomon is about. He writes things in there like, I am sick with love. Oh, my word. You got 700 wives. I don't care if he only had 300 at the time that he wrote it. You got wives. You have a harem the size of a city. And you're sick because you can't get this Shulamite slave girl to love you back because she loves her shepherd lover from back home where she was stolen from. When the army invaded and captured and took her away, but she had a shepherd boyfriend and she loved that boyfriend, and he followed the army behind to Jerusalem, and he climbed up the lattice. It's all in that story. He climbed up the lattice one time trying to get a peek in one of the windows, and she saw him through the lattice. And she described him to the ladies of the court who were grooming her with milk baths and oil in her hair and whatever else they did, and trying to make her fit and clean and beautiful and pretty and complexion right for the king that she didn't want anything to do with. And so she starts describing to the ladies of the court that are grooming her for the king what her shepherd boyfriend is like. And in one chapter, when she gets through describing him, the ladies of the court say, "Tell us where you saw him last, and we will help you hunt for him." And they go out in the streets and try to find this guy, because she's not describing Solomon with all of his riches. She's describing the attributes of her shepherd lover who has come hunting for her in Jerusalem, trying to figure out how to steal her away and get her out of there. And Solomon wants her so bad that he becomes sick with love. Loving somebody and not being loved back by them will drive a man insane, and or a woman insane. That's why Shakespeare made a career out of writing about love that didn't come back. Jilted love, cheated love, unrequited love. You ever just wonder why? The Bible says a few things about love. Why can't we just find love? I mean, we find it and then it goes away. It's like an elusive butterfly. It's like the wind. Today, she loves me, and plucking the petal off the flower. Oh, not tomorrow. But today, no, what? Up, down, romance. Oh, man, if you built your life on a romantic notion and you've been married 10 years, how'd that work out for you? Yeah, paying those bills and having kids sure puts a strain on that little romance notion, doesn't it? Maybe we just look for love in all the wrong places, and that's why it becomes so hard for us to define it. Some of the places we look might be Miss Carstarphen. I know you're sick of hearing her name, but I loved her. She was my 5th grade teacher, and I fell head over heels in love with Miss Carstarphen. And what's even crazier is she loved me back. And when she let us in the first day of school, I'm looking out the window. I hated school. First day of the 5th grade, I chose a back right corner seat where I could sit by the window and just stare outside. And I was looking outside when everybody finally got in, and the teacher addressed the class. "Let me have your attention, please, everybody." I didn't recognize the voice. It sounded younger than the 4th grade teacher that I'd had. "My name is Miss Carstarphen, and I'm new at this school, and I'm going to be your teacher this year." And I thought, that's a weird voice from, what? That's not a teacher. Oh my God, that's an angel. She was so pretty. Oh my God, she's the prettiest woman I'd ever seen in my life. And so she says in her first break, "I'm going to let you take your break. When the bell rings, go to the bathroom, get some water. And then when you come back, I'm going to let you choose where you want to sit for the whole year. And if you sit by your friends, okay, as long as you don't act up and talk, and you get to sit wherever you want the rest of the year." I did not go out in the hallway and take a break. I was afraid I'd miss the front seat right in front of her desk. And as soon as that idiot up there left to go to the hallway, I'd grab my book and ran to that desk, and I put right there. I sat right there, the whole year. Miss Carstarphen right here, and me right there. And she fell in love with me. And so I knew secretly we will probably have to hide this from my parents, but we will marry one day. She will wait on me to get out of school, and we will marry. And so I changed my whole life for Miss Carstarphen. It was my introduction to love. I had never known what love was like until the 5th grade, But I kid you not, in the 5th grade, when I fell in love with Miss Carstarphen, every evening before I went to bed, I made sure I had clothes that matched to wear tomorrow. Mattered in those days. Now you look like bums. We don't care. We apologize for the way all you kids look nowadays. We don't care. We gave up a long time ago. Y'all deliberately like holes in your pants. We didn't. I wanted my jeans to be clean. I didn't want holes in there showing my leg. You was poor if you had that. I wanted my shirt to match. I wanted socks to look good. I'd get in my closet. I would pull out. I can wear this. I'd lay it on the floor. And wear these pants. I'd lay them. I'm a 5th grader and I'm laying my clothes out. Got to have socks match that shirt. I'd go in my sock drawer and find the socks that match that shirt. I'd lay them on the floor in case they wouldn't be in the drawer tomorrow. Make sure my shoes were clean and looked right. And then tomorrow, I couldn't wait to get out of bed, put those clothes on, and go right straight to Miss Carstarphen. Because in the 5th grade in my school, we didn't have to go to other classes. She taught us all of our subjects all day long in the arms of Miss Carstarphen. And then at the end of the year, she taught me one of the greatest lessons I ever learned about love. She came in at the end of the year. We had a week left. She holds her finger up. She says, well, y'all see this ring on my finger? You may not know what that means. Let me explain. It means I'm engaged to be married. I'm getting married in the summer. And I'm like, I didn't know that. This is a surprise. I thought we were going to wait till I got out of school. I didn't even know it was illegal to marry a 5th grader. And then she announces some coach dude somewhere she's going to marry. And I'm telling you, I couldn't stand sitting there that last week of school and having to look up at that betrayer and cheater and liar. That beauty just vanished from her. And she taught me a couple of great things about love. One thing she taught me is that when you really find love, wherever you find it, it'll transform you, not the other person. If you're trying to make somebody change so you can love them, stop. When you meet someone you love, you'll change you for them. And then she taught me that love never lasts. Oh, I know, the verse is already in your head. Love never fails. It doesn't say love never lasts forever. It says love doesn't fail. Love will always succeed, but you won't find love everywhere in everyone. Some people hate. Some people love fickly. They love today, they don't love tomorrow. If you think a promise is a guarantee of love, you've lived long enough probably by now to know it's not. Even a marriage promise, a vow. I do till death do us part. Almost 45% of the marriages in America break that promise because that's about our divorce rate in America. Spouses and lovers, commitments. If you think love is a feeling, you're going to be hunting for a long, long time because love is not a feeling. If you think love is chemistry, it's not. The cool thing is all those things might be part of love. When you fall in love, the chemistry will be there. When you fall in love, you'll have feelings. But if we confuse the chase and we chase the feeling, we can find the feeling, but we haven't necessarily found love. Somebody described love as simply an empty place in us, and it has to be filled. And when we finally find love, the way we know we found love is the empty place is filled. I guess that's as fair a description of love as anything else is. I don't know, it's just a romanticized notion, I guess, of saying it. But I do know why somebody would describe it that way, because there's a fulfillment that comes when you finally love someone or love something. I don't know how long my wife and I were engaged, not long, 3 months before we were married. I think I proposed to her on a second or third date. It was It was one of those things where I don't know that either one of us could say we have butterflies in our stomach. For me, it was one of those things that I'd been like praying about for like 2 years. You know, I spent 2 years on the road and traveling around America when I came back from Vietnam. And my wife in here, is she gone? I dated a lot of women on the road. She didn't sneak in, did you? Okay. Because, you know, I don't want to not have love this afternoon. I dated a lot of women on the road. And, man, once in a while I'd meet one I thought, yeah, I like this woman, you know. I'll get her to come home and meet my parents maybe, because we dated 2 or 3 times and there's some chemistry there. And the questions are answered right. And then I would just like, you know, bring them home once in a while, fly them to Dallas occasionally. If they live too far to be easy to drive, just fly down, spend the weekend with me. You stay at my parents' house, I'll stay at my sister's down the street, and we'd date for a couple of days that way. And then it'd be like, my family would be like, oh, I just love her, son. My dad never got involved in my so-called love life. He did once. There was one woman who said, son, I just don't understand what's wrong with you. What do you mean? I don't know what you're looking for, but you're not going to find any woman better than that woman you brought down. Okay, whatever, Dad. I don't love her. I didn't know why. You know, empty place in here wasn't filled. My sister, I don't remember what state I was in, but I arrived at some state. I was supposed to be preaching a revival for a pastor, and I already had some mail there. And I said, oh, that's surprising. It had to be somebody who knew my itinerary, and it was a package from my sister and a letter from a woman. That was always awkward, to arrive at a church out of state and have a letter from a woman smell like perfume. That's the way girls did it back in those days. And like embarrassing as all. I had to actually write one girl and say, don't write me any more letters. The last 3 revivals, when I show up, the pastor said, you already got some mail here, brother. And it all smelled like perfume. Can't be getting that anymore. My sister's package I opened up, it's a cassette of a song. One song she had burned on there just for me. I think it was a B.J. Thomas song. Baby, baby, don't get hooked on me. Because she was mad that I had brought a woman home they all loved. She apparently filled the empty place in all their hearts. They loved her around the table. They liked her in the evening games and chatter. I was looking for more than family games and chatter, and the empty place in my heart wasn't filled. I couldn't describe that. I couldn't explain that to you. I wouldn't know. And so I began an earnest prayer for God. Let me find the right person that we can tolerate each other and survive each other, and I just need the will of God in my life, plain and simple. Let me find the right person. And I had to lie to Sandy to get her to date me the first time. I had to trick her into a first date. Literally tricked her into a first date. And then the second date, I probably said, hey, we're going to get married. I mean, I'll ask you if you need me to ask, but we're going to be married one day. You going to marry me? Are you an idiot? Okay, just throwing it out there for you, whatever. Just letting you know. One of those things I've been praying about, and I knew, you know, when the spot is filled and the thing is right. And had it been wonderful and perfect? Oh, good Lord, no. We both wanted to probably hurt the other person real badly a time or two. But it was the will of God. And it did fill that spot, at least for a while. And then the spot moved over. Well, my needs have changed. Well, find another woman. No, I can't do that. That'd be too expensive. Ray Stevens taught us that. Not going to ever get married again. Just going to go out every 4 years, find a woman I hate, and buy her a house. That's what I'm going to do. He was trying to describe divorce. Never mind. When you get through with all of your pursuit of love, you're going to come back to Scripture. You're just going to come back to the Bible. And you're going to ask God to define it for you. And I'm going to define it real simply with just a handful of verses. We'll start with 1 John, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. And John just started with this interjectory, behold. And from translation today, it would be, This is fantastic. Look at this. Here's something amazing. Let me show you something. Look at this. Can you believe what manner of love? Love. Somebody say love. Can you believe what manner of love God has for me, that I should be called his son? See, just forget the King James bestowed upon us. Personalize it right where you're sitting. Look at that verse on the screen and just personalize it for a moment, because you can't leave love out there in some third degree. Love has to come into this hole in your heart. And so just look at that verse and understand that what this verse is telling you. It's hard to imagine. Behold, this fantastic, what manner, it's unbelievable that he could do this, but he did. And what did he do? The Father loved you enough. He wanted you to be his son, his daughter, his choice. We've learned, I know you hear Ashley up here ad nauseum talk about her kids. She's not watching, she's working, and she's really working. She's not home, just mad at you or something watching.
Well, she might be mad.
Spoken like a true romantic. That was your chance to be better than me, and you didn't. You just fell right in there. One thing we've learned from Matt and Ashley and the adoption process they've gone through is how simple the choice selection is, and then how amazing the love factor becomes. Today, little tyke that has some kind of brainwave pattern that I don't relate to sometimes well, he can just be so wired. And just as you hear occasionally, something in him says, let's make a lot of noise that makes no sense right now. And so he does. And yet in the middle of that, he can walk over. He walked over here this morning when I checked to make sure the air was up warm enough for y'all. He walked over and just grabbed my hand and held it for a minute. I said, yep, I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, buddy. We're sitting over there a while ago, Mason and I were sitting there. I was holding him in my lap and just spontaneously, out of the blue, shuffling around a little bit, maybe because his daddy promised him a popsicle if he's good today at church. But whatever reason, lays his head up here on the shoulder while we're singing a song or two and just says, I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, buddy. You're my grandpa. I know. Do I have a grandma? Gammy is your grandma. He turned around and looked at her. Gammy, you my grandma? I am. Shh. Mason's your cousin. Mason, my cousin? Mason, you my cousin? It is so easy to love by choice. It's surprising. I mean, we didn't have a choice in loving the ones we got by natural process. Sandy and I had to love them because we gave birth to them. Good or bad, smart or dumb, we had to love them. Because we don't have to love anybody else. But we choose to, and it's so much easier than we thought. And I come to this verse and I realize, hey, I'm not a Jew, I'm a Gentile. I'm an outcast. I'm wrong side of the tracks. I was not in the bloodline. I'm not in the chosen people. The only reason I get to call myself a child of Abraham is because I believe in Jesus. And my faith is counted as righteousness. So it's all right. I don't mind. I can be backseat. Just put me in the corner booth. I can be that one. That's fine. Except I don't have to be. This is why John wrote amazing. You're not relegated to the wrong side of the tracks forever. You don't have to sit over in the dark corner in the restaurant. You don't have to go to the back of the bus. You are his son. for no greater reason than he chose to love you. He chose. Man. And every time that little boy grabs my hand, I'm not in his blood. He doesn't share my DNA. He didn't come through any of my efforts. He was somebody else's and still perhaps is theirs in so many psychological ways. But they have chosen to love him, and he is easy for the rest of us to choose to love. And every time he grabs my hand or lays his head here, and I realize I don't feel any anger toward this little snot. I love him to death. And I realize that every time I lay my head on the bosom of a father that I share no DNA with, I didn't come through the right race of people. I didn't come under Moses' plan nor Abraham's loins. I'm a Gentile. I'm the outcast. I'm one of those Greek others. And he loves me. And he loved me enough, he wanted me to be his son, and that's his choice, not mine. He made the choice. And then John 15:3, greater love has no man than this, that a man lays down his life for his friends. That's pretty cool. And then John 3:16 to follow, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And you look at those two verses, greater love has no man than this, that a man lays down his life for his friends. God loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. See, I don't know if I'd give up a child for you or not. Well, I do too. I wouldn't. There's just no question. I wouldn't give up one of my children for anybody in this room, and I love you all, but I wouldn't give up a child for you. I can't even imagine that. It doesn't. The rationale doesn't even make sense to me, which is why it makes his love all the more impossible to grasp, that he could love you that much. But he does. Did you know, this is a rabbit hole, but I got to make the connection. Did you know that the first place the word love appears in the Bible is not in marriage between Adam and Eve? Not even in Abraham and Sarah. The first place the word appears in the Bible. You got to jump all the way over to Genesis 22 to find the word first. And then it's about a father and a son. I put stock in first things in the Bible sometimes. So let me put a little stock in this right here. It appears in the sentence where God is saying to Abraham, here's what I want you to do, Abraham. Take thy son, thine only son, whom thou, and we're going to give you the first word, first time it appears in the Hebrew, whom thou lovest. Isn't that crazy? That the word never appears. He should have made Adam and Eve, and then the word should be in the early part, it should be, and then he made woman from the rib of the man, and when she woke up, he put in woman a great, driving, passionate desire, love toward her husband. But no, he didn't. He just let her go tempt him in the garden and drag one more man down to the depths of... Okay, that's the rabbit hole. I'll get away from that one. First place it appears. Now, the reason that's significant to me is you and I know the rest of the story. God would never require humanity to give up its son for him. But through Abraham's story, God showed us the precedent that he was actually going to give up his only begotten son whom thou lovest for humanity. For Abraham, he'd provide a substitute. But the first place the word appears, love, for that to be the first occurrence of it, it's easy to make the jump all the way over to the New Testament and realize this is exactly the stage he was setting through Abraham. He was showing us that a substitute is coming. Christ was the substitute, the paschal lamb for the sins of man, forever. And why did he do that? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. 613 laws of Moses, 1,500 years of Jews obeying those laws. And Christ, when he was asked about which of those laws is the greatest, reduced all of them to one simple element. Love the Lord with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And on these two things hangs everything else. Is that not the most fascinating concept from God that you could have today? You and I may differ on theology at every point along the way. We may have a concept of theology that starts with a different definition of the nature of God. And we might talk about baptism in different ways, and communion might be shared differently between us. And we might have different concepts about salvation. We might have different concepts about morality and what's right and what's wrong and all those things, and we could argue them all day long and maybe still never settle them, and I say we never would, because that's why we have so many denominations. We have not been able to agree together religiously, and churches can't agree, and it's a nightmare. And somehow in the middle of all that, if you were to ask God today, Lord, what about the 5,000 or 2,000 or over 2,000 denominations, God, and all of us have some kind of little different nuance. We all think we're right and everybody else is wrong, and oh Lord, what would you say if we ask him the same way they asked him about Moses' law and which of the laws is the greatest? What's the most important doctrine that we should be emphasizing today? And if we were to ask him today, he would come back with the same answer. Love God with all your heart, and then love each other like you love yourself. Wouldn't it be a great world if you could do that? Wouldn't it be a great world? Some of you grew up in a denomination kind of like I did. I grew up in a denomination that was exclusively saved. Everybody else was wrong. Nobody else was going to heaven. And they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it to come across that way. They wanted everybody to believe they were just embracing all, but they really weren't. It's a great group of people. I love them to this day, and Facebook friends with a lot of them. And it was an exciting denomination. A lot of exciting music, headbanging before headbanging became popular. Well, I mean, it's Pentecostal worship, but it is headbanging. I've seen them run through glass doors and smash them and have to go to the hospital because, well, the Spirit just forgot to tell them to turn left. He turned right. The Lord was not exaggerating, really. I've seen some crazy stuff in it. But when I went to Vietnam and I had to I wanted to start a prayer service on Thursday nights in a little dirt floor chapel, and the military wouldn't let me do it in denominational. I had to call it non-denominational. Had to invite anybody to come in that wanted to come in, and I did. And I could not have known then that God was just giving me a class, put me in a class of acceptance. And we had literally somebody from almost every denomination back home. Out of 40 guys or so, there would be somebody there every Thursday night for our 1 hour shot, 7 to 8, who was from a different denomination. Just every denomination was represented. And I had originally started it thinking I'd convert everybody to my denomination. By the time I was through, I wasn't converted to theirs. They weren't converted to mine. We gave that up. What we started realizing is what we do all have in common is our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and our belief in the Bible and His Word. Let's let that be enough for us to get along with each other and pray together, and that's what we did. And then I came back home from Vietnam after 9 months. I was there 13, but 9 months of a prayer service. And then I come back home, and I don't know anybody except my denomination, and that's where my connections are, and that's where I have to get ordained through. So I have to go through all that to get my ordination, and those are the men that I go sit under and the men that I start working for and preaching for, and oh my word, I was a fish out of water. And then they had this big hoodoo in Dallas they wanted me to go to, and I was considered, kind of the young upcoming star, sort of, because I was a veteran. There were very few veterans in my denomination, and I was a veteran of war, and so there were men, some pastors wanted that because, they thought it was a dynamic thing. And so I go to this Dallas event, and I find out when I get there, oh, they're having a Billy Graham crusade in the Cotton Bowl. And our little gang over here is making posters. We're going to picket outside. So when people empty out a Billy Graham, we're going to be out there with our signs, making sure they know their theology is a little off. And we got our tracts and our signs. And they wanted me to go stand in that group out there picketing and handing out literature, religious literature. And I said, I'm not real comfortable with this. What? I'm not sure this is where we belong. They're doing a good thing. Yes, but they're wrong. Well, not sure. And last night or night before last, Sandy and I were just flopped down in the recliner. When I say flop down, that's the only way we ever sit down is flop down. I don't mean to imply we were like exhausted or anything. That's just the way we sit. We flop down. And grabbed the remote just because we didn't know what else to do when we flopped down in the recliner. And I'm just channel surfing, and I don't watch much TV, she can tell you. I don't watch hardly any, and I'm just channel surfing. TV is stupid to me. It's boring, and I'm channel surfing, and I don't know where I am. I got thousands, you know, if you got Xfinity, you start in the 100s and go through 700s, 800s, I don't know. So I'm somewhere, and all of a sudden, I come up with this old-time religion thing. I see Bill Gaither on there. I see George Beverly Shea, who used to sing in the Billy Graham Crusades. And they're interviewing Cliff Barrows as an old, gray-haired, silver-haired guy. And so I just start watching this. And Cliff Barrows is talking about how well George Beverly Shea sang some of those old hymns at the Billy Graham Crusades. And they started showing clips from it. And the crusade would be packed out, and George Beverly Shea would be up there singing about how great God is, how great thou art. I hear the rolling thunder and all those kind of songs, just hymns that they were singing. And he wasn't flashy and cool and hip. He was old back in those days. But he sang with that strong, booming voice. And the whole congregation, tens of thousands in Coliseums would sing. And Billy Graham would get up and preach about repentance and turning your life to God. And I sat there and watched some of that for about 30 minutes. And then I cried. And I said to my wife, I said, you ever wonder what America might be like today if back in those early days in the 50s and 60s when charismatics went crazy and we started expanding, churches started growing and blowing, and growth came to America in the Christian camp. Billy Graham could pack out any college. You ever wonder what America might be like if we had all quit judging each other back in those days and nitpicking each other's theology and just loved God and loved the fact that some guy could fill up a Coliseum to call people to repentance and to love Jesus? What if we had all just worked together and all just got along and all just said, hey, even Jesus said, if they're not against us, they're for us. If they're for us, they can't be against us. We don't all have to. We didn't even have Facebook in those days. Now you can just get on Facebook and God doesn't even notice that you're smearing some other preacher somewhere. Joel Osteen gets smeared and hated every week by people that don't even know what he believes. I hear him called prosperity preacher Joel Osteen. And I'm like, he doesn't even take a salary from his church. They don't ask for money on their TV programs. Quit. Just quit. Leave it alone. Why don't we? I can tell you why. Because we've never quite understood what Jesus died for. Love God with all your heart and love each other as you love yourself. If you love Joel Osteen, you won't criticize him on Facebook. But what if he's not right? You don't know whether he's right or not. Shut up. You just want to criticize. Some people just want to criticize because it makes them feel smarter. You see, Pastor, I was reading. Oh, stop. We've all read. And half the time you hadn't really read. You just saw it on Facebook. When's the last time you actually read a book? I don't mean a paragraph in a book, nor a whole page. I read a whole page on Facebook. It was long. Oh, my word. Seriously. When's the last time you read a Bible? No, I didn't mean a verse or two. I mean the Bible. Don't know how to start? How about the book of John? Ken just told somebody the other day, start with the book of John. Good starting point, Ken. Read the book of John. How long has it been since you read the book? We just like to criticize because it makes us feel smarter. Stand, please. I'm just going to challenge you today. I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to challenge you today. Man, I just can't pound this in us enough. Stop condemning. Start loving. If you spoke to your wife like you speak on Facebook about other people, how long would your wife want to stay with you and live with you? Then you're not loving people. If you spoke to your husband like you speak about people on Facebook, how long would he want to stay with you? Come on, folks. Let's get serious about our faith in Christ. Our faith in Christ is not, he did not die on Calvary so we can get up and come to church on Sunday and be more righteous than a handful of other people. He summed his own law up in 2 simple challenges, and I give those to you today. Do you love God with all your heart? He said, mind, soul, and heart. That means everything I can give. Do you really love God? Quit looking for love for you. We spend, I don't know why she quit loving me. I stop worrying about whether people love you. Here's where you find love. Do you love God? And do you love each other? Do you love every man and woman like you love yourself? Love your neighbor as yourself. Father, thank you today for the absolute sharpness of your word. Thank you for the pain that it creates in us sometimes. Help us, God, to understand. We quibble over theology and argue over points, and we forget the whole matter was built on your simple answer to their challenge in your day. Love God, and love each other like you love yourself. Help us to do that today. God, we ask in your wonderful name. Somebody say, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Give the Lord a hand of praise today. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you for loving us like you do, and help us now to love you right. You're dismissed. Shake hands, hug somebody, love somebody. What in the world have you got there? Oh my goodness.